Attachments. Responsive and caring adults are key to children's development. When babies start their lives, it is essential that they have at least one person with whom they have a strong bond or attachment in order to develop positive relationships and to cope with challenges later in life.
One of the first things that people notice with a very, very alert newborn baby is that they are extremely sensitive to the presence of another person, especially somebody very close. They attend, obviously, to the voice. They look intently at your face. Even though their vision is still not working very well, they orient towards looking at a person. The development is very fast, and so by a couple of months, 6 weeks of age, a baby's vision is clearly much, much more effective, and they look directly at your eyes, and that makes the mother gets a very strong impression that the real person is looking at them. And then they can get involved in quite elaborate dialogues, conversations, with using very simple sounds and expression. So we now have a lot of data. There's a lot of work being done all over the world with young babies since the 60s, and there's a great deal of information now about their abilities. So they are communicating their feelings, their interest, and especially their interest in other people from the beginning.
All children need secure relationships, and adults should therefore observe young children closely and tune into their needs and dispositions. Bonding is the term that is commonly used to describe the deep, affectionate and powerful connection between babies and the important people in their lives.
It's very important to bond with the children in your care because they look to you. When mum's not here or dad's not here, they look to you to be their guidance and their support. And if you didn't have a bond with a child, then they're not going to settle, they're not going to be happy, they're not going to be stimulated, they're not going to enjoy their time at the childminding setting. So really, bonding is absolutely a must.
Babies can bond with a number of significant people such as parents, carers, grandparents, siblings, and also the key person who has responsibility for the child within an early years setting.
I think the crucial thing for any baby, any human being, is actually to form a really close relationship with their parent, with their primary caregiver, which obviously usually is their parent, because it is that particular relationship which gives the child their first feelings of safety and security and their most profound feelings of safety and security, because it is the initial experience they have of what it's like to be out in the world. So as soon as they, are born, they are already predisposed to be looking at the human face. And there's that wonderful bit of research which has shown that when we open our eyes, they lift the eyelid, it actually tenses a muscle in the middle ear, which means that we hear perhaps better. It actually supports our hearing. So you've got this wonderful combination for the typically developing baby, that wonderful bridge that's been in the womb, which is the voice of the mum. They come out, and it almost seems as if nature has said already, you need to get to know this person who's going to be looking after you. So I think nature's already saying that we need, right from the very moment we're born, we need to be making a very, very special relationship with the person who's looking after us.
There's a huge link between relationships and children's mental well-being. And I suppose at the very simplest level, children need relationships to be able to develop socially and emotionally. And for a lot of children, that first relationship will be with their parent. And it's really key because it's how children learn everything. It's how they learn language. It's how they learn how to interact. It's how they develop relationships. They start to understand people, how people relate. They start to experience the joy in relationships from that, which then helps their mental well-being. They also, from relationships, you learn how to control your emotions. So they learn how to control their anger, how to deal with stress, things that as they grow older, they will need all the more so. It's very key, I think, in those very early years when they have those first relationships, and they then learn how to do that. And it impacts across everything. I mean, it impacts cognitively as well as socially, emotionally. And for some children, they won't get that from their parent. And I think that's why staff in nurseries are very, very key, because for some children it may actually be with their key worker in the nursery that they'll develop a lot of that, so they'll be looking to them as that attachment figure, and it's from them they'll be learning about their language and about their relationships and about how to experience other people. That very first relationship is about how you develop your sense of yourself, you know, what their self-esteem is, who am I as a person, do people value me, through all the, you know, the responses they get and the feedback. So for staff, it's really important that they know that that's a key bit in how they help those young people develop, particularly young children who don't have that perhaps from elsewhere. I would say the workers in nursery have got a really important task then in helping them to develop that in terms of the language they use, the messages they give, you know, what they pay attention to, what they don't pay attention to, all those kind of things are very key.
Attunement between the baby and adult caregiver is paramount if the baby is to feel valued and secure in the knowledge that their needs will be met with kindness, empathy and respect.
One of the things that helps to create a really warm and loving relationship, which feeds into hopefully eventually a secure attachment relationship, is the fact of attunement, which really means that if the baby's upset or needs to play or is sleepy or whatever, is making signs that they're hungry, whatever, the parent is able, or the carer is able, to actually spot the signals of this child and get into the needs of that child as the unique, wonderful, unique individual that they are. So they're able to tune into what it is that the child actually needs. And one of the key things is about being comforted. It's what we as little human beings need, is to know that somebody is actually tuned into us and is able to respond to our needs. After all, is going to help us initially start to feel that the world is safe and that we're actually, that it's all right, you know, that we have these horrible feelings when we're upset, and then we learn, because somebody comes and comforts us, that it's going to be okay.
Although newborn babies have a natural disposition to interact with others, the process of attunement is a gradual one. Staff can find out as much information as possible about the baby from parents, perhaps by ensuring that there are opportunities during the day for meaningful communication, including home visits. Babies and young children look for reactions and responses from everyone around them, and they often mirror adult responses. They may react in different ways to facial expressions, tone of voice, body language, eye contact, and also the affection and respect they receive from the people around them.
The main purpose of communication is to belong to a world with other people, with common understanding. And what we're interested in is the energy and emotion that the babies put into that, and the fact that they develop a personality. You know, I'm the person that knows clapper handies, and look at me, and then that precedes a very important change at 9 months, when babies stop being interested only in what themselves can do and the interaction with the other person, and they start to see, oh, that person over there is doing something that interests them very much. I wonder whether I can do it. So that's when they start imitating actions, and practically anything that you take great interest in, a 1-year-old baby will try to do.
Securely attached babies and young children are more likely to develop a confident and positive approach to learning. Secure attachments help children to develop as confident individuals, successful learners, effective contributors, and responsible citizens. When babies and young children feel confident, they find it easier to get along with others and feel secure about exploring and investigating the world around them. Secure attachments enable babies to cope with change and challenge. This is commonly referred to as resilience, which develops through positive relationships with kind and caring adults.
For us, the element of resilience is very, very important. We would develop resilience for children in the nursery by actually providing safe and secure routines that children understand and are fully aware of, and it's about setting barriers and boundaries for children that they understand the practicalities of them for their lives and how they can then develop with them. It's about children feeling that they have a feeling of trust in adults who can then nurture them and celebrate success with them, and that they can feel confident that they are allowed to develop as children. Obviously, staff are fully aware of the need for consistency to develop resilience, and that they fully appreciate that we all have to be singing from the same hymn sheet for that to be able to develop.
Secure attachments and strong relationships also help babies and young children to develop empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand the feelings of others. It is very important as it can facilitate and improve life chances, as well as acting as a form of protection against developing aggressive and violent behaviour.
What you do is so much more powerful than what you say, especially with very young children. And I would suggest that we haven't a hope of telling babies and young children to be kind to other children and to take it in turns and so on before they've kind of got the idea. How do they get the idea? And I think they get the idea by seeing this happening around them. So my kind of one-line answer to practitioners, professionals working with very young children and families is, it's that we need to model it ourselves. So we can model it on 3 levels. We can show our empathy with babies and young children directly to them. We need to model empathy to families, to parents and the other companions of the child. I think there's a wonderfully important little group around each child that any key worker ever has, which is all their other companions. And here's another really interesting one. So babies and young children, especially in all-day daycare, how much do they pick up from the extent of practitioners' empathy with each other? What about the relationships that we have with our colleagues and how those work, and how much do we let babies and young children in on that dynamic, and how much do we welcome them knowing that we're really interested in what our colleague is saying and we like that idea and we'd like to follow that lead and we really value that person. So they need to know what it feels like and they need to see what it looks like with other people, and I think that's how we can help them with that.
Although we all know the attributes and the capacities from Curriculum for Excellence, we need to recognise that these capacities and attributes need to happen with children long before their 3rd birthday. So we need to be looking at what's happening in terms of very young children. And the kind of staff that are working with young children, we need to make them feel much more valued. We need to make people to understand that they're the people who are working with the children. They're the ones who are, nurturing them. They're the staff who are helping children to be attuned. They're helping children to build relationships. They're the staff who are helping children to build the resilience that they need. So therefore, we need to then be thinking that all of the things that happen before children are 3, to look at them, value them, and then recognise that when children are past 3, they can move on to the next stage, but we're taking account of all that prior learning.
Providing opportunities for children to develop and nurture close attachments with key persons should be embedded in the ethos of every organisation. Building and sustaining strong relationships is dependent upon a shared understanding of and commitment to the needs for secure attachments.
I think it's paramount for practitioners to realise that the relationships they make with the parents and the relationships they make with the children and the relationships that they encourage between the parents and the children are the most important thing that they can do. And to do that, it's very easy to say, but it is very difficult and needs a lot of skill. It's not something that comes easy. People need skill, they need reflective supervision, and they need support, and they need time.
Identify and reflect on the ways in which you ensure that babies and young children feel secure when in your care. How could you build upon these, introduce new approaches and measure effectiveness?